Okay, alors welcome to the new episode of a Thought Experiment.
Okay, we're back from Lagos, and you might notice the cover art today is this green building, and it was a building that I just stumbled upon as I was walking through the town of Lagos, and I'm just moseying around, and I come across this building and like, whoa, like the green tiles are so vibrant. And so I stared at it for a while that first day, but it was closed on the inside. I wanted to know more about it. So I came back and went inside and ended up talking to the lady, and now I'm going to tell you a story. Some of it might be butchered because, well, we're playing a game of telephone. She told me, and now I'm telling you. But the tile has a texture to it, which is super uncommon in compared to the other tiles in and around Lagos. A lot of them are designed, but they're not textured. This tile is textured. And the building itself was built in the late 1800s. And then in around 1905, that tile was put onto the building. Now, the guy who had the idea to put the tile onto the building originally saw it in Brazil. And there's a flower design. I'll upload some more images to give you a better idea to my Instagram. But the tile design is that of like a flower. And so he had originally seen this tile design in Brazil. Okay, well, I mean, it's so long ago, I have to imagine it takes like a ship journey back. But he knows that he wants to put that on his building. And this is where the story gets murky, but this is what I believe she had said, is that he hired a tile company, I guess, in Lisbon to recreate the tiles. And they did that in a beautiful way. I mean, the shade of green is just like amazing. However, the building, or the factory rather, that made the tiles, they shut down in like 1950. And because of that, they haven't been able to recreate those tiles because the factory shut down. The combination of colors, or whatever the concoction they were using to create that style green of the tile, they're unable to recreate it. And so because of that, the tiles that are on this building are essentially one of one. There's nowhere else in Portugal that has those exact tiles, and they can't be recreated. And they said they've tried, they've gone to other tile manufacturers, other tile companies. They have not been able to recreate it in that exact way. So the tiles that are on that building are all from the original time that they were put on. And I didn't see one that had fallen off, but if it were to fall off and break, they would be unable to put, a tile on that would be the exact version of it. Like what's on the building is solely what is, available now. There's no more. And then I recently learned that style of tile, I mean, the color green is just incredible. But that style of tile specifically keeps the inside of buildings very cool in the summertime. And with it being extremely warm in Lagos right now, that, plays a big factor. The top of the building are apartments, which I would love to see. That'd be super cool. And the bottom is a store, is a little storefront. And what a cool place. But I figured that would be, the perfect cover art. And so the art that you're seeing that's animated a bit is a version of that cover art, but I'll start uploading the images that I use as the cover art, so you can see the realistic, the actual photo of it. But I mean, just such an intricate design, and I believe, now this is through GPT, I believe the flower that's on there that he had seen in Brazil, I think it's an orchid, but I'm not 100% sure. It could just be, a flower design that they made up. GPT told me it was an orchid. And so we'll go with the idea of an orchid, and that kind of falls in line with some of that story might be butchered. Some of it could be entirely true. I could be literally repeating it word for word, but the odds of that, we both know, are rather low. Either way, the building itself incredible, immaculate. And now that wasn't even my favorite observation from the entire week of in Lagos. My favorite observation came from, I actually went down to a beach that happened to be a nude beach. Was I nude? Not at this beach, no. But, typically at a nude beach, it's about 90% old men that decide that they're going to utilize the lack of rules. So whatever, they're doing their own thing, minding their own business. But I'm laying at this beach, and all these old men, they got that leathery skin, I mean, the sunscreen, what's sunscreen? No. They just wake up and go to the beach. I mean, just leathery. Got a nice belly on him, he's just having a day. So this guy goes walking towards the ocean, and he's got what looks like an apple in his hand. And I'm thinking, like, what is he about to do with that apple in the ocean? And he starts walking in butt naked. And he goes in and dives headfirst into the ocean with the apple in his hand. Starts swimming around, starts cleaning the apple, like washing it off with his hands, whatever, He's swimming around, he's washing his body off with the water, whatever. And I'm like, no way. Next thing I know, he just starts chomping on the apple in the middle of the ocean. Just standing with, the water up to his like mid-belly, just munching on this. It was not an apple. I believe it was a nectarine once I saw the inside of it. But I just think you're better off not washing it at that point, because the next thing I do when I go in the ocean, I go pee. So if I'm peeing in the ocean, everybody's peeing in the ocean. And if everybody's peeing in the ocean and you're washing your nectarine in the ocean, I mean, can't be sanitary, right? But then again, I mean, that guy, the leather of his skin can probably withstand anything. So that saltwater filled nectarine, probably just perfect for him. I just could not believe he dove headfirst into this water with a nectarine in his right hand, washing himself off, washing it. I mean, he probably played around in the ocean for a couple minutes before he decided to munch on that nectarine. He just stood there and up to the belly and just ate it, having a jolly old time. But, I mean, what a sight to see. I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen anyone wash their fruit in the ocean. Just not sanitary. I went out to the ocean while I was there quite a bit. I went out to the ocean and I thought I was going fishing for sharks. I signed up for the shark fishing guide. And so the whole time I'm telling all the people there, yeah, I'm going out, fishing for sharks or like tuna, big tuna. We're going way out there. I show up with a group of other people, random people that just showed up to, go on the tour. I went by myself, and we're all standing there, and the guy goes, "Okay, well, we're gonna be fishing for bottom fish here." I'm like, "Huh? What?" So we don't go that far off the coast, and we're just, I mean, it was still fun regardless, but we're catching bottom fish, and I'm out here thinking that we were gonna go 25 miles off the coast and go catch a shark. So you can imagine my surprise when we're just throwing little shrimp on a hook and catching these tiny little bottom fish that are smaller than the spatula I'm holding. But regardless, it was a good time. I got a cool t-shirt out of it. And the first fish that, that one of the guys catches, there's probably like 6 of us there just throwing lines in one after another. The first fish that he catches, we're all like, "Oh, yeah, come on." There's 2 guides there, and they're looking, and they go, nah. Fish is shit. Grabs off the hook, throws it right back in. And so that's kind of set the tone. We're catching them at a good rate. But if they didn't like what they were seeing, they're throwing it right back in the ocean. I caught a couple keepers, though. I caught a couple keepers. Then he made it sound like they were going to cook the fish. I was like, "Oh, damn, all right, that's pretty sick." We get back to the dock. He goes, "Okay, who's taking the fish? Who wants to cook it, at your own house?" Well, I don't want to do that. So I didn't get to eat the fish, but I don't know if they would have been that good anyways. I don't even know what type of fish. They were just bottom feeders. Snatching them up, though. Good time. Me, a couple Swedish people, a couple Australians, and 2 Polish kids from Chicago, all out there just catching some bottom feeders. God, I thought I was going to catch a shark. I was imagining what it was going to be like to hold the shark in my hands when I caught it. I didn't even touch one of the bottom feeders that I caught. But regardless, I got to go fishing, so that's pretty sweet. Now, I had talked about last time on the pod, how special Lagos was to me last time I visited. And so going into this time, I had mentioned that I'm looking forward to what Lagos, the kind of aura that it has around it. Rather than trying to repeat the same experience I had last time, I knew that was impossible. But to go there and just experience it for what it is and let it, the opportunities magnetize towards me, the people magnetize towards me. And, a couple days in, I'm staying at this hostel that's beautiful. It's like a little retreat house, kind of. It's small, beautiful kitchen. Anyways, I walk into the kitchen one day, and there's a guy there that looks familiar. You got that Rolodex of faces in your mind, and or in your brain, yeah. And he's putting away his food or whatever, and I'm just staring at him, finally tell him, dude, I know you from somewhere. And he's looking at me, and he's like, yeah, I know you from somewhere. And it's like the Spider-Man meme. We're just staring at each other. And finally, I'm like, oh, you were staying at the hostel, the Kunabali hostel in Ubud, Bali. And he's like, yeah, that's where I saw you. And then I thought about it. I was like, oh, you were traveling with this blonde girl. Because I remember he was traveling with this blonde girl with curly hair. And they just travel as friends around. And pretty cool. And he's like, yeah, she's actually here with me. And so we get chatting, talking, whatever. He actually, as he's talking, he's like, yeah, dude, life's been really good. Life is good. And then just completely knocks his cereal off the table. And, life is still good. We had a good chuckle about it. But we clean up this, the cereal, whatever, the mess. And his name is Matthews, and his friend, Talia, walks in. And she's staring at me. She's like, I know you. And she, she's kind of behind on this revelation that we've had now. So we kind of just let her figure it out. She's like, Bali, huh? So when I was in Bali in February, I stayed at this hostel in Ubud for a couple days, and I just saw them in passing. I don't even think I ever introduced myself to them. I just saw them in passing. They had a car, so the next day, we just spent the whole day driving along the coast, going to different little coves and beaches, and went to a restaurant, hung out. And it was so funny how I had never introduced myself to them before, and then we see each other at this hostel in Lagos, and it's not an introduction because we've seen each other, but it is in a way. And we hang out for that entire day. It was kind of like hanging out with friends that I had known my whole life. It was quite an interesting, cool experience to take part in. And so I'll send them this episode. So hopefully, if they're listening right now, what's up, guys? But just so amazing. And so that got me, thinking about different phrases, why the 2 times I've gone to Lagos have these, synchronicities occurred, and it's just such a place of alignment. And so I started looking up, old terms or historical terms that represent these type of feelings or events that take place. And what I found is the term axis mundi, which is a symbolic center of the world connecting the heavens, earth, and underworld, often represented by a tree, a statue, a pillar, a sacred structure, etc. Okay, but this axis mundi, it moves vertically. So if you can imagine, the heavens, the earth, and the underworld, it moves vertically through. And it's a place of alignment. It's a place where like these synchronicities take place, alignment takes place, resonance takes place. And for each person, it's a different place on earth. Or you could have multiple places where this occurs. You know, as I started to relate it to like, I assume that like guys I've played with who are just the best, you know, baseball players I've ever played with, those places for them are probably the baseball field. You know, that's where like alignment truly occurs. And for me, it's 100% Lagos. I mean, it's beaches, you know, but specifically the beaches of Lagos. And as I kept diving into this phrase, I came across the word omphalos. Now, the omphalos is a sacred stone in the Delphi believed by the ancient Greeks to mark the center of the earth. So the story goes that Zeus sent two eagles on opposite ends of the earth. And wherever they met was going to be, that's the navel, the center of the earth, because anatomically, the omphalos is also the navel. And in many spiritual, I guess you call it spiritual groups or like beliefs, you know, the area of the navel or right below the navel is believed to be the chi, the life source of energy. Life force of energy, rather. And so these eagles met at the Delphi, which is in Greece. And the first omphalos that they put down is this stone that's kind of in the shape of an egg. And it was revered as like a prophetic site in the ancient Greek world. And people would come to it and give it, you know, offerings and pray there. But they believed this to be where the heavens, the earth, and the underworld all moved in this vertical line that was of connection, of, you know, where synchronicities took place, where resonance, all these things took place of true alignment. And so people would go there to kind of feel that type of like, I guess alignment is really the best word. And so for me, as I continued to think about Lagos, it's like, oh, the town of Lagos itself is an axis mundi for me. It's a place where like synchronicities occur, and there's this internal feeling of alignment that takes place. I'm using the word alignment quite a bit, but that's the only way to describe it, and it works vertically. And, you know, if you think of the chakras of the body, and you think of like the mind, body, and soul, it works in your body in a vertical way as well. You know, you could take it the mind, you know, the body could be the solar plexus, and the soul could be the navel or right below the navel. Or you could just follow the 8 chakras that are, you know, you can look it up on on Google and see that it works vertically. The chakras do. And it's also believed that like your spine, obviously a healthy spine is essential for a healthy body, but the spine works vertically. And so as we connect, you know, the axis mundi, the spine, you can see that it all works vertically, whether it's from the heavens to the earth to the underworld or within our own bodies. And I just started to think of Lagos as like this place of axis mundi. And there's specifically this like boardwalk that goes along the cliffs above the ocean there, and it's one of my favorite places in the world. And that place specifically is like my omphalos. Like it's a place of great alignment. It's a place where like you feel like time is just non-existent. And one of my favorite parts of the entire trip was just sitting there until like, you know, after midnight, sitting there and looking at the constellation of the stars, and you're listening to the ocean just come in one sound after another, because it reverbs off the cliffs. So I'm standing on this boardwalk, you know, a couple hundred feet over the ocean, overlooking the ocean, with the constellation of the stars moving around me as I'm just standing there. And I actually looked up a constellation that's a scorpion. And at the center of it is one of the brightest stars in our solar system, and it's like the heart of the scorpion. And I stood there for so long that at a certain point I looked back to my right where it was previously, and I thought it was gone. Then I realized that the stars are just rotating around me, and it was, back behind me. And standing there, just looking at the constellations, listening to the sound of the ocean and feeling it move, like that's one of my favorite parts of the entire trip. And that place, that boardwalk, is a very special place to me because it's also one of the first places I went in Lagos when I arrived last summer, and where I felt like a different feeling than any place I've ever been. Like, whoa, this is crazy. I don't know what this feeling is, and there's no need to dive deeper into it, but like this is true alignment in that sense. Like you feel like you're centered without trying to be, and that's it's a beautiful, beautiful feeling. So some of the words that we dove into are like the axis mundi that works vertically, and then they believed that the omphalos was a place along the axis that acted as the tangible place where this type of divine presence took place, and they saw it as the place where God breathed into the world. And it's beautiful. But for each person, as that's evolved over time, you find different places on the planet that elicit that type of feeling within you, and that type of alignment from the heavens to the earth to the underworld, and that runs along vertically in your body, along your spine or the chakras, whatever you choose, to resonate with, or whatever resonates with you without trying. So the trip in total was just an amazing experience. I mean, I love Lagos, Portugal. It's a very special, special place to me. It's a place of alignment. It's a place where I meet just the most interesting people. I mean, the synchronicity of meeting Matthews and Talia it's just incredible. I mean, it's one of the things we talked about, like, dang, it's like any synchronicity to the point where no one's going to understand it or feel it to the depth at which you or whoever involved is going to, but that's unimportant. It's just the beauty of that thing taking place, and not even reading too deep into it, as I've talked before, but just like, this is just a sign that, like, I'm on the right path. I'm right where I'm supposed to be, and it's incredible. So incredible. And as we, kind of flip it and relate it to, I guess let's relate this to baseball for a moment, because it was something I was thinking, or athletics in general. I mean, you could go into a larger scope, but I just finished this book by Alan Watts titled The Book. And someone who I listened to quite a bit, Harvey Martin, a guy who I had met previously, worked with the Giants. Both of these characters, and a lot of philosophers, talk about the idea of characters, how we play roles in this life. And as I kept thinking about it, like, I recently in the last, ever since I really stopped playing affiliate, like, I've had more energy inside my body than ever before in my life, other than maybe when I was like 16. And, I thought about why that is, and when you think about the role of playing a character, you can start to think about how tiring that can be, because we all play roles, right? You play a different role at work, at home, whatever it may be. But for me, it's like, when I'm in this place of alignment along my axis, Mundi, there's no character to be played. It's the essential, like, nothingness and everything at the same time. So there's no character. You're at the center of the onion. All the layers have been peeled back without even trying. But so I started to think about, man, like, why was I so worn out all the time playing baseball previously? Even in the off seasons, like, it was just a draining experience. And I think, as I think back, it's because I was playing this character. And so I kept, diving deeper into that thought. And it was like, oh, at a certain point, I don't know when this came about, but I had realized that I was playing baseball when I got back to affiliate. I was playing baseball so that I could tell people one day, hopefully, that I had made it to the major leagues. I was no longer playing for like the purity of the game of baseball. Even when I was playing in indie ball, I was playing for the purity of the game, and I had more energy than before. Because there's no trying at that point. It is. And so I think about, the people in positions of all these organizations across professional athletics or even in the workplace. And it's like, you constantly are playing. It makes so much sense now. And this is just how I've interpreted it now, because I've been listening to Harvey talk about this for quite some time. I've kind of been confused about it, to be honest. And now it makes complete sense, because when you're playing the role of a character in some sorts, it's draining, right? It's like putting on your makeup every day, the Joker mask, and then at the end of the day, you take it off and you can lay in bed and you're like, whew, dang. And so you're playing this character, especially when you have, like, say, a manager that maybe you don't believe cares deeply about you or about your, like, well-being. They only see you as the baseball player. So you play that character every day to try to please this person or please the hitting coordinator that comes to town or whatever it may be. And it's so tiring. And so as I think about the players I've played with, like the best players, that the baseball field or the stadium is their like axis mundi. There's no character to be played. That's truly like they're playing for the purity of the game, which is an incredible thing to do when you take in the business side of baseball and the money that comes with it and all the different aspects that come with the business of it. The ability to maintain it just for the purity of what it is in a game is amazing. And those people are meant like that. That's where everything aligns for them. And so for me personally, that wasn't it. And yeah, I still play, but I definitely use baseball now as a source of joy, but also I use it to be able to go to these other places around the world and have these different experiences and just see what's out there, leveraging baseball to help me find different axis mundis along the world. And for some people who find that it is baseball, it's incredible. And for them, that's why they have so much energy, because there's no character that they're playing. They just are. And I say this because like when I'm in that place in Lagos or at the beach or meeting these characters, like that's where my life force, there's so much energy that the life force is never ending, because you're not playing. There's no character to be played. It's like you just are. And so when you're in that state, the life force just flows freely. It could be at your work, wherever it may be. Everyone has these places where like it's like I don't get tired at these places. And even now I have more energy than I've ever had before, because I feel myself moving along the continuum that's of alignment rather than forcing. And when you're forcing and playing these characters and these roles, it's very tiring, super tiring. And, I don't know if I'll ever get into coaching, but one thing that it's always interested me about coaching is the ability to connect with people and allow them that like, hey, there's no character to be played here. This goes so much deeper than baseball. Baseball is just the communal event that we all take part in to connect. And as you watch, I'll wake up in the morning and I'll watch Major League games. And you can almost like see it through the screen which teams are like aligned and which teams aren't. Like I watched the Blue Jays highlights. Who are they playing? The Yankees. And like the way they're playing the game right now is just there's a certain alignment that's taking place. And everyone's felt it who's played sports, where it's like it's just things are just taking place perfectly. And it's through the trials and tribulations, but that it starts 100% with the manager and the coaching staff, because they're the facilitators of the environment. Their sole purpose is to make everyone feel included, represented, acknowledged. And so I think that, it's a very dangerous game that you play when the manager or the head of an organization or business, whatever it is the one that has the largest, you could use the word ego, has the largest ego in a sense, because that just creates a separation between the manager and everyone else, and immediately characters have to be played. But when the manager breaks it down, like the managers that I've had that I've thoroughly enjoyed, I think about my indie ball manager, Joe Calfapietro, you feel like that guy actually cared about me. I still talk to him to this day. And makes you feel seen, and at that point there's no character to be played. It's like, I get to play baseball, and this is the facilitator of the environment. And so I think, the overarching theme in that thought might just be to find places where you feel as though, where you recognize there's no character to be played here, or be around people where there's no character to be played here. This is just the most authentic version of myself. And when you're in those places, the life force just flows freely. So for me, that's what it came back to as I was in Portugal and in Lagos for a second time. I was like, oh, dude, the life force just flows freely in this place. And as we explore the earth, I think everyone's just looking for places where that feeling arises. And it's a beautiful feeling. It's one of the best feelings. It's that vertical alignment. It's where there's it's just a liminal state. You're just existing. That's it. And that's all that needs to be done. And not every place is going to arise that feeling out of you, because it is. There's an energy that resides in each place, and it either aligns with you or it doesn't, and then you keep moving. And the only way to recognize is to continue to explore. We're just on a continual path of exploration. So maybe that tangent made sense to you. Maybe it didn't. It made sense to me. I guess, and the overarching theme is we're finding places that align with us, but it's also the job of, as we relate it to professional sports and baseball, it's the job of the facilitators of the environment to break down their own character so that everyone that, follows their lead feels the fact that, I don't need to play a character. And from that standpoint, energy can flow freely amongst a group, within each individual and amongst a group. And that's how, you feel this synergy on a team. And that's a very, very special feeling. And so as we wrap up this episode of A Thought Experiment, where we went from talking about tiles on a building to professional baseball, which is always kind of the blend. That's why I find Phil Jackson so interesting in his book, is he was dealing with characters, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, some of the biggest characters in sports history, and he was able to connect these teams, and it was through a combination of this Zen Buddhism and also professional sports. But to me, it seemed, as I was reading the book, that he was able to draw these people together and create this synergy on the team, because athletes, the people he coached, saw that this is genuinely him. He was not playing a character. He was just bringing his interests to the group and bringing himself in the most raw state so that they would see that his energy was just felt in a way that was not that of a character. It was the most authentic being. Hey, this is me, and we're here to coach. We're here to win ultimately. But that's only done through being vulnerable on a team, which is very hard when you have a group of alpha male individuals. But if the leader is able to do that, it just breaks it down for everybody else. And I've been on teams where that's been felt and where it hasn't. And there's a distinct difference between the two. But it always starts at the top. It always starts at the top, and it works in a circle. and it's rare. So when you have it in any type of, friend group, business, team, community, whatever it is, it's very, very special. And so the question that we'll end this episode with is a simple one. What is your favorite sound? Or sounds, it could be plural. And then maybe just close your eyes and start to imagine those sounds as they take place. And that concludes this episode of A Thought Experiment.